So, yeah, the title, we're talking about the pride of service, and it's kind of funny that we're talking about this title in the background of an election like this. And all I can say is that everybody's going to be a lot less stressed after tomorrow. And thank God it's going to be all over with. So I think everybody feels the same way I do about that. So, but going back to the topic here, it's pride of service. So the first thing you need to do to show people that you're going to take care of them, you know, that's the way that people feel taken care of, is that you show them that you're going to take care of them. But you've got to put yourself in a certain mindset as to where they're going to trust you to begin with. And so in order to be, you know, have that pride of service, you have to, number one, be proud of what you do. If you're not proud of what you do, then you're not in the right profession here. We provide a valuable service to seniors, especially those that are healthy enough to benefit from our services. But even ones that have health issues, we can still be a great benefit to them, especially you know, certain ones that we can get them day one coverage, but they might be stuck in a 2-year waiting period. But the bottom line is this, is that our whole life rates that we have through our carriers are generally lower than the direct mail companies. You know, we're talking about from the most competitive, Omaha, to Colonial Penn, the least competitive of all those carriers out there. Omaha is the most competitive. But the bottom line is that if they have decent health and they don't smoke, we're going to blow them out of the water anyways. And it's very important for them to understand that, you know, we're going to provide them a better product. And you need to be proud of that fact, that we're out there to try to get them a better product. We help seniors get out of term policies and UL policies that have been, you know, that have blown up on them. I had a lady, she's an existing customer. She called me back again because, you know, I'm the only one that's told her that it's not going to go up on her, whereas all these other agents have sold her these policies that are now going up on her. And so I'm there to help her with that and to be of service to her, and I'm proud of that. And so, you know, with proper field underwriting, if you really know your companies and what conditions we can do day one coverage for, there's a lot of times that we can give them better whole life policies as well. So not only we're providing services in lots of different ways. We're getting them a better program in general. We're helping them get out of bad programs that aren't whole life policies, and we're getting them better whole life policies. So, you know, you got to show that pride from the beginning. Now, that pride, as you go to the door and you talk to them, is going to translate to confidence, but make sure it's always tempered with humility, because you don't want to be overconfident. It's always important to be humble when you're in other people's homes. So when you're being confident, you're also being modest and you're being humble. Now, sometimes just being proud of what you do is not enough. Sometimes you have to tell them, the customer, that you're proud. And so there's times where you really are supposed to be shining as a professional, and that's when you're talking about the difference between whole life and term life. When you get to this point in the presentation, you've already asked the medical questions, so you know how much you can help these people. Now, a lot of times when I'm talking about whole life and term life, this is where I tell them I'm very passionate about what I do, because all of the whole life that you get straight through the mail is real cookie-cutter, one-size-fits-all type programs, and I'm here to tailor-make a program based on what your situation is. And that's how I can really be a help to you. Now, if you don't know enough by this point that you've made enough of a connection where you're going to sort of help them make a sale, if you've made all the connections about a better product that you may have for them, there's things that you can do to test yourself along the way, like right after your warm-up when you're talking about their health issues. Ask them about their medications and see if they're going to get their medications for you. You know you've built some trust if they're going to get their medications. Now, when I'm in the whole life, term life part, the policy test is a real good one, where they either ask if you want to see their policy or if you ask them for their policy. Now, if somebody offers you to get their policy and you don't accept that offer, you're a dunderhead, because that's the tools that you need to see if you're going to be a benefit to them or not. and also they've got more trust in you now that they're getting that policy. So I'm telling them that I'm proud, that I'm passionate about what I do. And then the last thing I do, and sometimes, if you're new at this, sometimes you have to do this at the beginning. Sometimes I do this at the very close if I'm getting some static at the close. But the bottom line is you need to be doing business like this anyway. So, what I always tell folks is that, I operate my business by the golden rule, which means that I'm going to treat you the way I want my mom and dad to be treated when I go into somebody's house, when somebody goes into their house to talk to them about business. I'm going to recommend the programs that I recommend to you are the same ones that I would recommend to my mom and dad. And you need to be proud that you can be in a business where you can operate by the golden rule. Now I'm going to go over some real brass tax stuff that I do, because I've been doing this for a long time, and I would say I've been with Equid about 8 years, and I didn't have as good a quality back then as I do now, and I've made a conscious effort to really focus on the quality of my business, because it leads to more money every month at the beginning of each month when my renewals come around. So, number one, I focus, if I have a problem come up with a customer, it doesn't matter if it's first-year commissions or if it's somebody that's been around for 2 or 3 years, I'm always going to help them no matter what, because it's going to help me, and more importantly, it's going to help them, especially somebody that's, had a policy for a real long time. Usually they don't want to lose it. It's just something strange that's come up. So I always make sure that I follow up with every single one of my issues that come up as far as payments for my customers. And I'm all over those payments if something comes up, especially if it's a first-year policy. But I tell them how I'm going to give them service after the sale in the house when I'm finishing up. I tell them that I'm going to call them. I let them know I'm going to make sure that that they're going to get their paperwork. I want to make sure that they got their policy. And I always try to make sure I call them at least once before their first payment. That's, to let them know they got their policy usually. And then sometimes I'll call them twice. It depends on the amount of the sale. And if it's somebody that's paying over $100 a month, I'm going to offer to come back and talk to them. If it's somebody that's switching out something real serious, for one for another, I'm going to offer to come back and talk to them and go over the policy once it comes back in, so that I can make sure that I've cemented that sale properly. So if you're, and you should be, because I have you should be selling deals that are over $100 a month, and every so often, sometimes over $200 a month. There's plenty of those out there to be had. There's 70-year-olds that have been in a Globe policy for a long time that you need to get them out of. There's lots of different situations that are going to help you get to those points, but you got to make sure that they've gotten, that they're 100% comfortable with what they're doing. And so when it's a larger sale, you need to really, offer yourself to them. And I would say that when I do that, only about half of them ask me to come back anyways. Half of them are just like, yeah, I got it. Everything's good to go. All that good stuff. But the point is that not only did I offer that right when I made the sale, but I offered it again on the phone. After I've made sure they've got the paperwork, I've offered myself again to them and said, hey, if you need me to come out to go over this with you, just let me know. And just remember, my number hasn't changed in yada, yada years. I always tell them that because my number hasn't changed in 18 years. But I know that's something maybe a lot of people can't use because they change their numbers a lot. But the point is that I make sure that they feel taken care of, both when I'm cementing the sale right there at the house at the very, on the day of the sale, and then afterwards, because sometimes they're getting, the most probably 2 phone calls, but, everybody gets at least 1 phone call. Everybody gets at least 1 message if I can't get through to them after I call them a few times. But make sure you take care of your customers. It's real important. It's important to be in a business where you can employ the golden rule. There is a lot of gray areas in our business, and so you need to make sure that you're using the golden rule every day and making sure that you're treating everybody the way that you want to be treated, the way you want your parents to be treated. So with that, Chase, that's all I got to say, and it's back to you, buddy.